Surprisingly, having 15 days of PTO annually got me on 3 cruises last year. If one of the reasons you do not travel enough is because of your limited PTO, in today's video, I'm gonna share with you how to leverage your holiday and your PTO from work to travel more in 2023. You can also apply these methods into 2024, 2025, and so on. I'm gonna share with you the 3 methods that I personally use to leverage my own holidays and PTO from work that could be applicable to your lifestyles. The first one, I'm gonna call it the long weekend week. If you live and work in the US, you probably have major holidays on Friday or on Monday. That makes your weekend a long weekend. So what you would do is to actually fly or travel to your destination on the weekend, take a whole week off to explore, and then come home the following weekend. There are 4 major holidays that I feel like you can apply this method on. And yes, you will be traveling during the holidays, and yes, it will be crowded at the airport. But pack your patience and remember that you get to spend a whole week away from your home and from your day-to-day routine. The first holiday that I'm gonna mention is in January. It could be New Year's Day or Martin Luther King Jr. Day. I feel like in January, you might wanna go to a destination that usually is too hot for you to travel any other time of the year. And one place that came into my mind is Orlando, Florida. Ricky and I actually went to Orlando for the very first time to go to Disney World and Universal Studios in the middle of August in 2019. And when we get there, I quickly realized it was a huge mistake. It was so hot, it was so muggy and so humid, and we were miserable the whole time. I mean, we still had fun because we still get to go to Disney World and Universal Studio, but it was just way too hot. We literally dripped in sweats the whole day when we were outside.
You okay, Ricky? You guys, we are here. It is so hot. I don't even bother to put on makeup because it's way too hot and I know it's gonna go away anyway. So I'm just gonna put on my sunglasses all day.
Anyways, one of my friends whom I met through YouTube is a bigger Disney fan than me, and she usually goes to Orlando to go to Disney World. And she told me that January is actually the best time, in her opinion, to go to Disney World because the weather is great, and depending on when you go in January, you might be able to see the leftover Christmas decoration at Disney World. Usually in January, what me and Ricky do is to actually fly back to California. We do live in Las Vegas. We've been here since 2019, but we still have a lot of family and friends back in LA. So we usually try to visit family in January just because it's the new year. And that's actually exactly what we did in January of this year. We already went back twice, and the first time we went back because I need to renew my passport. We also get to spend some time with both sides of our families. And then the second time around, we actually decided to go back because we want to spend some time with my mom. She is actually here in the US and she's visiting from Indonesia, but then she's about to fly home pretty soon. In fact, I think by the time this video is up, she's probably already back home. The second holiday you can use this method on is Memorial Day, which is in May. I actually found 2 great articles kind of talking about where is the best place to go in May. So if you want to check it out for more inspiration, I will leave them in the description box below. I don't know why, but I feel like going to Europe in May would be the best time to go. And if you have been to Europe, maybe you live there or maybe you just visit Europe all of the time, let me know in the comment if May is the best time to go. I feel like it's right before summer season starts, right before everybody is trying to have the best summer in Europe. And I feel like things would be cheaper in May and the weather is definitely gonna be more forgiving. Like I said, I've never been to Europe before, but I feel like in May, that would be the best time to maybe visit for the very first time. I feel like if I were to go to Europe in May and I only have a week, I would probably fly to London, spend a few days there and just kind of like visit the highlights of London, and then I would maybe take the Eurostar to Paris. Same thing, spend a few days there, hit up the highlights, and then fly back home. Another thing that I would do in May is probably a Mediterranean cruise. I think for the same reason as visiting Europe for the first time, May would be the perfect weather to go. It's probably not as crowded, and you can definitely do a week-long Mediterranean cruise. and probably get to visit 2 or 3 countries, which is honestly one of the main reasons why I love cruising. Do me a favor and leave a comment below and let me know where is the best place to go in May. We actually went on a long weekend cruise on board the Navigator of the Seas last May. I did find a pretty good deal on a guaranteed balcony cabin, so we decided to go on a cruise. It was kind of like on a whim. And I was trying to compare between a cruise and Disneyland, and a cruise is actually way more affordable, so I decided to go on a cruise last May. Third holiday that I have on the list is Independence Day weekend in July. I would never recommend coming to Las Vegas during this time because it is gonna be super hot. It's gonna be in the triple digits every single day, and usually in July, I don't even go outside of my house. I have the AC on blast all day. And usually we would go out for sushi because sushi is the best thing to eat in the summertime. We actually went on a cruise to Alaska in June. I know it's not really July, but Alaska cruise season actually lasts from May to September, with June and July being the most popular time to go. So if you have a plan to go on a cruise to Alaska, July might be the time that you might want to check it out and go, but keep in mind it's gonna be pretty expensive. Another idea that I had on places to visit in July is probably South America. I don't know why, but I keep thinking that anything in Latin America is tropical, but honestly, South American countries are obviously a lot closer to the South Pole than here in Las Vegas. So I feel like going to Peru to visit Machu Picchu or Argentina for Patagonia would be good in July too. We actually went to Honolulu last July. I was trying to kind of recreate our honeymoon because we did go to Honolulu for our honeymoon in November of 2017. Would I recommend it? Probably not. We basically stayed at the same resort and I planned to do the things that we didn't get to do last time when we were there. However, I didn't really realize it was gonna be so crowded, and it was also super hot and humid. So we ended up just staying mostly inside our hotel room and just basically go out for food, which honestly was pretty pleasant as well. The fourth holiday that I have on the list is Labor Day week in September, and I feel like same with July, you might want to go to somewhere cold in September. In the past, we actually did 2 cruises in September. Our very first cruise on board the Enchantment of the Seas, it was actually late September of 2019 that we went. It was sailing out of Galveston, Texas. Second cruise that we did in September was back in 2021 on board the Mariner of the Seas. It was kind of like during the time where cruising is starting back up again, so it was actually pretty awesome. The ship was really empty. We get to do everything that we wanted to do. We even get to port at Perfect Day at Coco Cay. There were 2 ships on that day, but because the capacity on the ship was super low, there's really not a lot of people on the island, and it was just really nice. Second method is what I'm gonna call the long weekend, or make your own long weekend. The 4 holidays that I mentioned above is basically can be applicable to just the long weekend. So instead of actually taking the whole week off to explore a destination, you could just make the long weekend an actual long weekend. So you can either take off on Friday to travel to your destination, and then you have the whole weekend to explore, and then you would actually fly back home on Monday. The second way to make this method work is just to simply make your own long weekend. If you're able to find a really affordable cruise deal or flight deals, and it's not really on a weekend where there's a holiday on Friday or Monday, you can just make your own long weekend. I've definitely done a few of this in the past. One of the examples was our Navigator of the Seas sailing over Mother's Day weekend. I found a really awesome deal on a guaranteed balcony cabin, and we just decided to go for it. I also decided to go to Vancouver over a weekend in May because I wanted to do my global entry interview on arrival. Last year, there's literally no interview appointments available in Las Vegas. I think they were only available like all the way in December, and I know throughout the year I'm gonna have to fly a lot often because we were trying to travel a lot more than usual. I definitely want to get my global entry and my TSA pre-check early in the year so I can use it throughout the year. We just went to Vancouver, and on the way home to the US, we can actually do our global entry interview on arrival. And fun fact about Vancouver airports, the US Custom is actually at the Vancouver airport. So before you board your flight, you would have to go through the US Customs, and that is where I did my interview for Global Entry. So it was just a really seamless operation. There's not a lot of people going through the US Custom because I think we purposely went to the airport like 3 or 4 hours before our departure just in case. And it was nice because when we landed in Vegas, we don't have to go through the US Customs. We basically just went to the parking lot, pick up our car, and went home. It was really nice. Before moving on to the last method, if you have been following along with this video and if you now have ideas on when to go on vacation, please let me know by liking this video. And if you want to learn more about tips and hacks on how to maximize your holiday and PTO from work, just like this one, make sure to subscribe to my channel. Third one is for the braves, because this is what I like to call over Thanksgiving travel. Ricky and I actually have Thursday and Friday off for Thanksgiving holiday, and we are going to be one of the brave ones to travel over Thanksgiving break. It is the best and the worst time to travel in my opinion. The best because you do have that 2 holidays and you can basically travel for 2 weeks but only take a week of PTO. And the worst is because everybody's probably doing the same thing or everybody is trying to go home for Thanksgiving. But like I said earlier, we're gonna pack our patience to the airport and we're just gonna keep trying to remind ourselves that we're about to go somewhere fun, somewhere new for 2 weeks, and we get to get away from our house and we get to get away from our day-to-day routine, and that is a total win for me. We are planning to go to Japan and Singapore at the end of this year, and that is a travel we're going to do over Thanksgiving. So if you want to find out more about how I plan for our travel to Japan and Singapore, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We are trying to mostly use our miles and points for our flights and our hotel in Japan and Singapore. And if you've been to Japan before, do me a favor and leave a comment down below and let me know what are some of the things we need to do, the things we need to eat. What are some of your recommendations, because your girl need it. So my plan is to actually transfer some of our points to Singapore Airlines because they are a transfer partner for all 4 top US banks: American Express, Capital One, Citibank, and Chase. And by the way, if you are trying to get into the travel hacking game and you have no idea who is the transfer partner of which bank, I actually have a cheat sheet you can download for free. The link will be down in the description box below, so make sure you go check it out. So if you are like us and you're gonna be one of the brave ones to travel around Thanksgiving this year, this is the dates that I would do. So the first way, you can actually start traveling on Friday, November 10th, and then you can come back over the weekend either on Saturday, November 25th or Sunday, November 26th. And then the second way, you can actually start traveling on Friday, November 17th, and then you can fly back home on either Saturday, December 2nd or Sunday, December 3rd. I feel like over Thanksgiving could be the best way to go to Europe too, because you have 2 weeks, then you can also visit more countries. It's probably gonna be super cold and some attractions might be closed for the winter, but you can visit the European Christmas markets, which I heard is super awesome. Maximizing your holidays and PTO from work is just one of the ways you can travel more in 2023. From my past experience, there are actually 3 ways that enable me to travel more in 2022. The first way is to use some of the travel hacking methods that are out there. The second method is cruising. The third way, which was what this video was all about, is to maximize your holiday and your PTO from work. I have 15 days of PTO annually, probably just like you do, and I was away for 41 days in 2022. It might be too little for some people, but for me, it is still a win. Make sure to subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell for next week's video if you want to learn more about my tips and tricks on how you can travel more in 2023.